Hey, fellow travelers, Mark here with Wolters World. Today we're here in Munich at the Marienplatz in front of the Neues Rathaus, the new town hall. And right there is the Glockenspiel we all come to see and love. And today we're going to talk about are some of the mistakes that tourists make when they come here to Munich. And I think one of the mistakes they make the most is actually trying to walk through Marienplatz when the Glockenspiel is going off, because the tourists just make a wall of cameras up there trying to get a video of it. So do be aware of that when you are here, because there are so many tourists that come here. It's crazy. So that's one thing. But also they make the mistake of thinking that the Glockenspiel goes off every hour. It doesn't. It only goes off 3 times a day, at 11 a.m., at noon, and at 5 p.m. That's the only time you get to see it. So at least move. And don't make the mistake of thinking it's something like incredibly crazy what it does. No, it just goes around. It's kind of cute. But yeah, the insanity when it comes to the Glockenspiel is nuts. Now let's get back to some of the bad things you need to realize when you come here. And since there's so many tourists that come here and so many people visit, there's obviously a lot of tours that are here. And I think one of the things you might not like is if you choose the wrong tour for you. Because believe me, with all the tourists that are here, there's tours for every language, not every language, but most languages out there. But also for criteria, like what are you looking for? Do you want a tour that focuses on drinking beer? Do you want a tour that focuses on doing architecture? Do you want one that talks about architecture, but you're really doing beer? You need to do your research on the tours when you come here, because that's one thing I've seen from travelers. They get really upset with the tours here in Munich because it's not the right ones they're looking for. Oh, I went with my kids and it's more of a beer drinking kind of thing. Oh, I did a bike tour, but all we did was go and ride to the English Garden and drink beer there. I'm like, well, yes, you'll notice there's a lot of beer theme in the biking and the going around kind of stuff. But honestly, it is worth your time to invest your time in doing research into the different tours you can take from here, whether it's a day tour, whether it's a CD tour, and all kinds of things, to see what's really going to be right, because you can have an incredible experience. Because if you want a tour that just talks about the history of the Bavarian kings and gives you a walking tour within the residence kind of thing that goes with you, that can be great. Or if you want the history of beer in Bavaria tour, you can do that as well. But honestly, where I've seen the most tourists complain is really of getting the wrong tour, okay? So do be aware of that. And then I guess there's some other things I should say with my hate number 4 is some of the little Germanisms that you might need to know about before you come that you don't know about. Like when you get here, you'll notice the public transportation takes you everywhere. It is fantastic. The S-Bahn, U-Bahn, buses, trams, all those things, they're great. They go all over and you could just walk on. But the thing is some tourists don't realize you still have to buy a ticket. It's not free public transportation. It's open to freely walk in, but you have to pay, and they do have the checkers that come by. And if you got on without paying, they don't care if you're a tourist. They are going to fine you for not having your ticket on the train. So don't forget to do that. And of course, the German, hey, Sundays, there's no shopping. And, I talk about how great the shopping is here, but that's something you need to be aware of that, it's closed on Sunday. They might close early during the night, so there's not a lot of late night shopping. So what I would recommend is make your dinner reservations. Oh yeah, because of all the over-tourism, make sure you make dinner reservations, okay? Make those at 8 o'clock at night. So when all the stores close, then you have nothing else to do. Oh, let's go out to eat. Let's go have a drink. Let's go do something. And that can help you out. Now, another thing that gets some tourists when you're here is the fact that cash is really important here. And I know a lot of people are like, I just want to use my phone to pay or my credit card. I don't want to carry cash. Well, in Munich, you still need to have cash. Germany is still cash is king. It's not as big of a king as it used to be. Maybe it's more of a Herzog now, like a duke or something. But it is still important. So you do need to have that. And that's one of those things that shock people. Like, wait, I have to have cash to use the toilet? Yeah, you're going to need a couple euros to go to the bathroom and public toilets kind of stuff. So that kind of thing really throws tourists off when they're here. Now, I know these kind of Germanisms are all over the country, but I think it's important to mention because so many tourists that their only German experience is here in Munich. So I want to be ready for those because honestly, the Bavarians, as friendly as they are, they can be pretty direct as well. So do be ready for that. If you might get, so why are you so fat, Mark? These kind of things out there, all right? Oh, but honestly though, the little Municisms and Germanisms that you really want to watch for that might get you. Yeah, the bicyclists here. People will ride on ice and snow and be like, why don't you get out of the way? I'm like, you're riding a bike in the ice and snow. We can't move either. What are you doing? The bicyclists here, it's they're we own the city, and that can be a little annoying when you're walking around. And not just if you're walking in the bike lane. Make sure you're paying attention you're not in the bike lane. because the bikers seem to think they own the city, and it just gets it can be dangerous sometimes, but it does get a little bit annoying. So that's why I kind of put in those bunch of little tiny annoyances, hates, for number 4 here. Opera House? A tourist trap? Heck yeah! Opera House? You definitely have to go and visit when you come at least once? Heck yeah! So that's why it's on this list of places that, yes, it's a tourist trap, but it is worth going to just for the fun of it. So let's talk about some of the mistakes people make when they go to beer halls. They come here to Munich. One mistake they make is thinking the Opera House is the only beer hall in town, and there's tons. You have 6 major breweries. You can come to Schneiderweise and have a nice drink, but there are a lot of them out there. So don't think Opera House is the only one. However, don't make the mistake of not going to the Opera House, because a lot of people feel it's just too touristy, so I don't want to go there because it's a touristy place. Look, it's on my list of tourist traps that are so worth going to, so you still should go there. Now, another mistake people make when they're at the beer halls and the beer gardens is they think that the table is all theirs. What you have to realize, the beer halls and the beer gardens, you have a seat, and other people can sit in those seats you're not sitting in. So don't think it's just yours. You're going to be sharing it with other people, right? So that's a good way to meet locals when you're here in Germany, is doing that. So don't think it's just yours. That's a mistake people make, because I see people, why are you sitting here with us? Because there's no other where to sit. So another mistake people think is, oh, I'm not going to ask if that seat is free in the beer hall or at the beer garden. Just ask. Sit down. Make a local friend. Now, another thing is important to remember. Don't make the mistake of trying to steal the glasses from the beer halls, the beer gardens, because they'll find you. Like Opera House, like they'll be like, hey, you can't walk without. So you can buy all the beer glasses you see in all those beer halls here in Munich. You can buy them at the beer halls. You'll be fine. Don't try to steal them. I mean, you can get in trouble for that. And I think another mistake people make is they think the price you see on your first beer in some places is the only price. Remember, there's a deposit, a fund for like big beer glasses. Or if you come here at Christmas time, the Christmas markets, they have a fund, a deposit on those mugs. And honestly, it's expensive here, so it could be about 5 euros for that. And honestly, don't make the mistake of thinking Munich will be a cheap vacation, because Munich is never cheap. Ask the locals. Now let's talk about dinner. I think a mistake people make is not making dinner reservations when they're here in Munich, because this is such a popular tourist destination and so many people live here, and Germans love to eat out, especially on the weekends with their friends. You need to make sure you're making dinner reservations so you have a place to be. Otherwise, you might be out of luck, or just grabbing a bratwurst on the street. Don't get me wrong, you get good sausages here, but you want to go to some of those great restaurants that are here. And also, don't make the mistake of thinking it's just German food and Bavarian food here. They have fantastic foods all over the world here in Munich. But one of the mistakes people make when they do come to restaurants in Munich, and this is all over Germany, is do not wait to order, because the waiters and waitresses, you may say, oh, give me a minute. Your minute is 60 seconds. Their minute might be 15 minutes. I had to get English menus for my parents at this restaurant here, and literally the lady took 15 minutes to come back, and I'm like waving her down. So honestly, don't make the mistake of waiting to order. Just order your drinks and your starter and your main meal right away, so you're not waiting forever. Another mistake I think people make when they come to Munich is, if you have any desire, any inkling of engineering, science, space, aerodynamics, anything, not going to the Deutsches Museum is a mistake, because it is one of the best science-based museums, and not just in Germany, not just in Europe, but in the world. I mean, it is a fantastic experience, so don't miss out on it, because honestly, if you're any kind of science person at all, you will appreciate that museum. Now, if you're not looking for museums, you're looking more for the Oktoberfest thing, I think a mistake tourists make is thinking Oktoberfest 1 is in October. It actually ends the first week of October, starts 2 weeks before that. But the real mistake is they think they can just show up and go. What you have to realize, you need to pre-book hotels. We're talking months, maybe a year in advance, to make sure you have a spot. So you might look at it as, if you're in Germany at that time, maybe just come for a day trip to do Oktoberfest for the morning or the afternoon or whatever. Enjoy the rides, have some beer and all the fun. Yeah, because it's a good time. When I've been, it's worth going to at least once. But yeah, don't think it's going to be an easy thing to do if you haven't been there. Because honestly, thinking you can just walk up and get a seat in the evening time, that's a big mistake. It doesn't matter if you're in Oktoberfest or any time here in Munich. A mistake tourists have is thinking they can pay with card everywhere. Now, you can't pay with card a lot of places. It's not as big of a deal as it used to be. but not having cash with you to pay for things really makes life a lot easier. If you're here at the wintertime for the Christmas markets, cash is definitely still king at that time, so do be aware of that. And the thing is, if you're coming here in the winter or the summer, I think you shouldn't make the mistake of thinking that Bavarian weather is predictable. So we were coming to Munich, and the 10-day forecast said, oh, you're going to have rain in Munich. Yeah, they ended up getting 44 centimeters, like 20 inches of snow instead. So it's always going to be changing. So make sure you have multiple layers when you come here. I mean, you can go shopping and buy anything you want here. It's not a big deal. But it's something I think you should realize that it's not necessarily going to be what the weatherman predicts. And speaking of predicting things, I could predict that either a cyclist or a mother with her carriage, her baby carriage, is probably going to try to run you over. I mean, you have to be careful when you're here, and mistaking to think that the bikes will stop for you or the pram moms. No, they're not. They're going to run you over. So that's actually probably the most dangerous part of coming here. And one thing I got to say, Bavarians in general are super friendly. Munich and people here are great as well. But I think one thing tourists make the mistake of is they take the Bavarian bluntness personally. Don't. I mean, Germans in general are very blunt, and they're going to ask you questions that you might feel uncomfortable about, but they don't mean it in a bad way or try to get you like, I got you, ha ha ha. No, it's just how they are, so just kind of be ready for that. Now, some mistakes when you're here in Munich are just Germany-wide things, and I think a mistake tourists make is not having coins to use the public toilets, because with all the beer halls and all the fantastic drinks you can have here and fun times, you're probably going to need to hit the head occasionally, and sadly, public toilets in Germany are not free, so make sure you have a bunch of €1 coins so you can go pee, because honestly, paying to pee isn't fun. What's the fact of life here in Munich, all right? Now, when you are here, if you're lucky enough to find this treat, don't make this mistake. And that is the mistake of biting directly into an Apfelkuchen. It's basically a breaded apple ring that's fried. You might get 3, 5, 7, or whatever. How many you want to get? But the mistake people make is they bite into it right away. Now, remember, this is a freshly fried slice of apple. Apple has a lot of water in it. That is steaming hot, and it will burn your mouth. So do not just bite right into it. Be ready for that, because that can hurt quite a bit. And it's funny, because I started thinking about some of the silly little mistakes we all make when we're here. And one of those German mistakes is not making eye contact, because you're going to be making cheers. And I can't believe I didn't say this when we're in the beer hall, but giving people cheers and not giving eye contact. That is a very important thing here in Germany, especially in Bavaria, because if you don't make eye contact when you cheers, can be trouble. And always, you cheers from under. Immer von unten. Yeah, immer von unten, like from bottom, that's how you cheers, okay? Now, Munich is full of parks, and I think a mistake people make is they don't enjoy those parks, but specifically, they don't go and explore the English Garden. It is huge. It's bigger than Central Park or Hyde Park. I mean, you go there and you hang out, and there's so many different spots to go in there. There's fantastic beer gardens, like Chinese Tower Beer Garden, like you can go there, but there's so many different things to see there and just check out that I think people kind of remiss to not go and relax in the summertime. In the wintertime, don't worry about it. But in the summertime, it's funny and it's a good time. And yeah, and you might mistakenly walk into a park and you're like, wait, should I not have clothes on when I'm here? Yeah, they have that part of the garden as well. Now let's talk about some food mistakes people make when they're here. And I think one is people that don't take advantage of the pork. And when I talk about pork, we're talking pork shoulder, pork knuckle, roasted pork. I mean, you've got Haxe, Schweinhaxe, which is on my list. Like the best thing to eat here is roasted pork knuckle. Like you'll see it turning on a spit. It's so good. But there's so many different things from the sausage you have when you're here. I mean, being anti-pork, you really miss out on a lot of stuff. Now, if you don't eat pork because of religious reasons, you don't like it, there's plenty of other restaurants here, but it really is a mistake of not porking out when you get here, because honestly, the pig is good here in Munich. And the thing is, if you don't want pork, one of the actually kind of tasty treats people miss out on because they look at it and go, why would I order that, is Obazda. And Obazda is basically Bavarian pimento cheese. It is fantastic to dip your pretzel into it or smear it on your bread. It's like brie or camembert, mixed together with spices and stuff. It's actually really good. And you can have it as a snack. You can have it with your beer. I mean, I won't lie to you. Jocelyn won't kiss me after I eat it because it does have quite a potent kick afterwards. But it is something you should have when you're here. Oh, and going back to the pork kind of sausages thing, another mistake tourists make is they actually eat the casings of the Weisswurst, the white sausages. Don't worry, you can eat the casings, no problem. I actually usually do. But you'll notice some of the locals will actually only eat the insides of it and leave the casing out. You'll be fine, but that's one of those like little local things. I'll give a shout out to them. I just feel it's wasteful, so I eat all of it. But yeah, something to kind of think about it. Oh my gosh, the sweet mustard that goes with it. Don't forget to dip some bretzen in there as well. Oh, so good. Now, if you're here in Munich, you're going to hear about the Bavarian kings, Ludwig, Mad King Ludwig, and all these other kings that are out there. And I think it's one of those things is you're really making a mistake if you're not enjoying and learning about the Bavarian history here. And yes, you can go to the residence here in the city. It's very easy to do. It's fantastic. They have a nice Christmas market there actually in the wintertime. So that's not, well, the Christmas time, I should say. That's nice. But seeing the like residence here right in town is fantastic. Or at least maybe go out to the Nymphenburg Palace. It's a little bit farther out. It's in town. It's in Munich now, but it was their summer palace. That's kind of a cool thing to check out. And not really learning more about the Bavarian history of the royalty is kind of missing out on learning more about Bavaria. And yes, it's a mistake if you don't go inside the Frauenkirche and look for the devil's footprint, okay? So don't skip out on it. It's the symbol of the city. Now, for those of you that are flying in or flying out of Munich, another mistake I think people make is thinking the airport is close. The airport is not close. It is about a 45-minute taxi ride from the airport to the center or vice versa. And if you want to take the S-Bahn, the S8 goes from out there. And it's also about 45 minutes to get from there into town. And I'm going to tell you, I mean, don't make the mistake thinking it's cheap to get out there, because if you take a taxi, we're talking like 100 euros to get out to the airport, okay? Because it is that far. So don't make that mistake. And as we get towards the end of the video, I think it's important to mention this. Don't make the mistake of just staying in Munich. Do the day trips. Go and explore other places. You can go down to Austria and see Salzburg and Innsbruck. You can go up to Nuremberg or Regensburg, see some other Bavarian great cities to visit. Also, Bamberg's fantastic. You want to go in the Alps? Yeah, you can go to Berchtesgaden. You can go to Garmisch-Partenkirchen. You can go to Zugspitze. There's so many great day trips from here that if you just stay in Munich, you're really making a mistake, because there's so many fantastic things around here. Anyway, what are some other mistakes tourists make when they come here to Munich? Let us know in the comments below so we can help other travelers have a great time here in this beautiful Bavarian city. Bye from Munich.